Where's your girlfriend?
My boyfriend is working.
Ah. Didn't want to assume.
I'm in a relationship.
Don't flatter yourself, bro. You're not my type.
Hi, my name is Nick Oceano, and I am part of the series Falling for Angels, and I wrote and directed the episode called Boyle Heights. I was inspired to write the episode because I wanted to tell a story that celebrates my culture. I had been seeing in the news the demonization of my Mexican-American culture, and I wanted to tell a story that celebrated where I come from. I come from Texas, and so I grew up with one foot in my Mexican-American culture and one foot in assimilated white America. It always felt like I was in this cultural purgatory of not really belonging in one world or the other. I thought of a story that would express what it feels like to be disconnected from your roots, ultimately to have a cultural rebirth. I literally stumbled upon the story because I was in a coffee shop, and it turns out that coffee shop was the epicenter of this anti-gentrification controversy.
Hey, brother. We're actually boycotting those.
No, thanks.
You know, a lot of our neighborhoods are kind of going through this struggle right now. And you had voices on both sides. You had locals who were angry that these white businesses were coming in and pushing out the locals and erasing the culture. And so I came up with this idea of this assimilated Latino lawyer who moves into Boyle Heights and is right in the middle of this controversy.
It's just coffee, man.
Oh, it's just coffee. All right. Okay, so you're okay with these businesses just coming in, jacking up our rent so that we can't live here anymore? Erasing our history? But it's cool, right? You know, because it's just coffee.
I loved working with the cast. It was so exciting to work with 3 different but very talented actors who all threw themselves into their roles. The lead character, his name is Jesse. He's partnered up with his white partner, Steven. They move into Boyle Heights, and Jesse's situation is, you know, he's trying to mend this relationship. He's cheated on Steven, and so he's trying to be a good boy.
How many times do I have to apologize before you can trust me again?
We find him going to the coffee shop, and he runs into one of the local activists in the form of Leo. Leo is this fiery, passionate, out young activist who's from the neighborhood, who was actually returned to the neighborhood to help his family and help his community. Leo chides him for coming to this coffee shop and instead of going to one of the other local businesses. And so when the two meet, it's hate at first sight, but there's also this sexual attraction. And that's really the catalyst for this story that explores, you know, for Jesse, what it is for him to have come from a culture that he's gotten disconnected from, and how he has a spiritual, cultural rebirth as he gets plugged into the community.
Oh, what?
Hey.
Wow, I didn't think you'd come.
Yeah, Propino.
Yeah, it's cool. I like Pinot.
Working with Luis Jose Lopez, who played Jesse, the lead character, was very exciting to me to be able to write a Latino character who is the lead. I've been working as a filmmaker for a while, and to be given the opportunity by heretv to be able to tell a story that is reflective of my experience as a Latino man, and to be able to talk to Luis, who understands sort of that struggle of coming from a wonderful culture, but to be able to succeed in America, you often have to forget that, or at least distance yourself from that culture. And so he was able to plug into that struggle of wanting to get connected to his roots, but not knowing how. Steve Grand is this exciting musician who was new to acting. It was so great to work with him, to see how much he wanted to do a great job and really understand his character. Steve really plugged into that dichotomy of trying to make this relationship work with someone who actually minimizes him as a person. And I thought he brought this wonderful sweetness to the role, and I thought he did a great job for never having acted before.
Someone's texting you early.
I was able to work with another fantastic actor named Adrian Nunez. Adrian and I really bonded from the first second he walked into the audition. I could tell he got this character who is complex, who, you know, is contradictory. He's a bit street, but he's educated. He's passionate, but smart. He loves this community, and yet he does questionable things for the movement to kind of push out these businesses that he feels don't belong there because he feels like they are erasing his culture. And so Adrian was able to capture the complexity of this very interesting, diverse character. It's just so exciting to be able to, you know, write a character that you know, it just basically comes from my gut, comes from my heart, and Adrian puts everything on the table, and you really see that in his performance.
All right, so let me get this straight. You don't want the world to label you, but it's okay for you to do it.
It doesn't matter what I do. I'm not in a position of power.
It was exciting for me to be able to write a story about gay characters that weren't necessarily things I've seen before. It wasn't a coming out story. It wasn't about, you know, drag queens sort of camping it up, which I love. But just write these three different characters who were incidentally gay. To be able to explore gay relationships in a way that was specific to being gay, but also universal at the same time. I think whatever your orientation, we can all relate to being in a relationship that you want to make work, but might not be good for you. I think that's a very interesting, unique experience to have two men in a relationship and to be able to explore that in a way that is not stereotypical.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You know I love you, right?
And I would say my favorite moment is when Adrian, who plays the activist, kind of hushes the audience and he shares something that he's written, which is a slam poem called Reflection. It's this really wonderful expression of like what it is to be Latino in America, to be able to come from Aztec gods and kings and queens and come from this rich culture and then realize when you get out there in the world that that's not how the world regards you all the time, that you experience prejudice and racism. And I think this poem explores that universal Latino American struggle of having to look inward and look to your cultural mythology and really look to yourself to be able to transform into a man who can be successful in this world as a Latino and as an American.
Brown boy looked into the mirror and saw his cinnamon skin, like that of the Aztec kings before him. He had his father's eyes, which raged like fire, his mother's lips, which spilled Spanish like coins. At school, he spoke words of his mother's land, was punished with a ruler against the hand, for that is the tongue of the savage man, his teacher would tell him. The other children did not know his name, but Spick or Wetback worked just the same. He thought his parents must be cruel for handing him over to such a world.
There's a moment later in the episode when Jesse's boyfriend, who's white, Steven, asks him how his day went, and Jesse tells him he was called a coconut.
Yeah, he called me a coconut.
Coconut. What's that mean?
Brown on the outside, white on the inside.
Coconut. I mean, you are kind of white.
And Steven thinks it's funny because he's never heard of that term before. But for Jesse, it's painful because it means that you've turned your back on your community. And on some level, it's like reverse racism because it's derogatory, it's an insult because it means that you as a Latino person are acting white. What does that mean? That was one of the more interesting moments I was able to explore in the episode, something that we as Latinos grow up with, but we don't really have these conversations about what it is to feel like a sellout, to be assimilated, and how in some perverted way that's something that's derogatory.
Oh, okay, so what did you mean?
I don't know. You barely speak Spanish. You listen to jazz. Look how you dress.
Oh, so now I dress like a white guy.
Jeez, why is it so offensive to be white anyways?
It's not.
What did I take away from working on Boyle Heights? I think just like the lead character who feels a bit culturally lost, a bit disconnected from its roots. I feel like the script sprang from that same place for myself. It was wonderful to be able to explore those ideas in different characters and to literally see this visualized come into reality and see other performers, other Latino performers be able to tap into their own experience and tell a story that hopefully will connect with, not only Latinos, but every culture. I mean, we're a country of minorities, whether you're white or brown skin, we all are immigrants on some level, and so I think we can all relate to that idea of wanting to find your home, find your people, find your tribe. Boyle Heights explores this idea of what we all have to do to assimilate is to assimilate to succeed, but what do we lose in the process? And in the story about Jesse, our lead character, this assimilated lawyer, there's a turning point in the episode when he realizes that he has lost a part of himself. And if he's not complete, how can he be there for his relationship? How can he be there for, his family, for his friends? Boyle Heights to me is about, this character who finds himself again so that he ultimately can be whole and have, the life that he wants. My name is Nick Oceano, and I'm the writer-director of Boyle Heights. Watch it on heretv.
We won first place. Huh? Oh, it was great. I remember walking back to the bus when this white woman came up to me, a parent, and asked me if I knew where I had parked our car. She thought I was the valet. I had a gold medal around my neck. It's like no matter what we did, we were still the help. So I decided that I would never be mistaken as the help again. And I haven't.